Hey the size, how's it going, guys? Hey Brand, how's everybody? Hey Marla, hey Boo. You got your drink, child. We all need a drink. It's been a hell of a couple of days. Hi family, how's it going?
Good.
What's
How
up,
are
man?
you?
How
I'm
you
good.
living,
Long
babe?
time no see, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
way too long.
So welcome to the chat. We're just going to talk for a few minutes.
Are we supposed to pin you or you pin us?
Good question. Where is the pen
That's
thing?
something we do.
No, 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 no.
What's this? Is something.
Special stuff.
I'm about to press stuff. Sorry, I don't know shit about it.
We here.
Yeah, I tend not to get too fancy with these things. I try not to be Teddy Riley.
No worries. No worries.
So, we start our neighborhood chats with just the same basic question, but it seems that is probably the most important question after this weekend, which is, how are you guys doing? Yeah. I know,
Hanging in
right?
there, brother, like everybody else, holding on to
Dear
to
life.
to, to dear life, to each other. You know what I mean, and trying to hold on to the sanity that we all need. We all got to hold fast. We all in the same situation. We all in the same boat together right now. So,
Yeah.
our ancestors have gone through tremendous trials and tribulations, and who are we to not have to endure some of the same things? And if they were able to get through it, then we should be able to get through it as well, God willing.
Yeah. And I mean, because you guys are parents, and
Hmm.
especially now in quarantine, you guys are kind of forced to be with your kids 24/7. So especially now, like, what are you telling your kids?
Well, we've been trying to keep the floor open for conversation, and they're able to kind of come in and out and express themselves about how they're feeling. But it's intense. I mean, this is something they some of them remember Eric Garner. They remember, my older kids obviously
Shonda.
remember, Trayvon Martin. But my younger kids not so much. So even for the older ones, this is kind of hitting different.
Hmm.
And so one minute they may be sad, next minute they may be angry, the next minute they may just be quiet and just need their own personal space.
Yeah.
Sometimes they need to just kind of decompress, get out, get some air. It's kind of going in and out.
They
But
sound a lot like adults right about
yeah, they really
now.
do. When you sit down and talk with them, they really have some very profound things to say. And I
Hmm.
mean that from my 10-year-old to my 21-year-old.
It's
That's
growing everybody up real quick.
Yeah. And I mean, your oldest is my Morehouse brother, and and
Hmm.
and, and many of us saw that incident. And I do want to talk about Akil as a performing artist now, but a lot of us saw the incident of the Morehouse student and the Spelman student in Atlanta. And I was just
Oh,
wondering if you guys talked to him about that, or if he had shared any thoughts about that situation.
You said about the students that were
he
pulled out.
said during the summer or the thing that happened just recently.
Just recently over the weekend.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, he was just
so
telling us
yeah,
about it,
yeah,
actually.
yeah. My sister actually sent it to me before I discussed it with him, and he discussed it with both of us. And
Hmm.
yeah, it was shocking, and definitely it had changed the way that we would be moving around, because obviously now we're on day 3, or is
Yeah.
this day 2? It's
Of the
day 3 of
protesting.
Three.
having
Yeah.
no, 3 days
Of
of having the
curfew.
curfew.
Oh, yeah, this is the
Hmm.
third.
And so watching that situation go down the way that it did, the first thing obviously I'm thinking about is, all of us, because
Yeah.
you know, everyone is in danger of something like that happening. So yeah, he's expressed it to me, and you know, it's just shifted the way we're moving.
Yeah. And what are you two doing for your own to handle all of the not only just this past weekend, but quarantine in general? Like, what are you two doing to remain sane?
Well,
Cooking, listening to music, scrolling Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and all of the other social media outlets, you know, much like everybody else, man. It ain't a lot more. I mean, writing, thinking, you know, being inside your head, trying to love one another. I mean, it just the natural, the natural things that you have to do right about now is the
I mean,
things that
yeah,
we're
you
really
know,
doing.
getting out, getting some
Yeah.
air, you know, doing those kinds of things, trying to switch it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think, unfortunately, right before this situation went in the direction that it did,
Yeah.
we were all beginning to try to figure out what was going to be our rhythm, our day-to-day rhythm
Yeah.
in quarantine. Like,
Right.
how would we go out? How would we interact with the world? And we were just trying to figure out, okay, if this is going to be our normal for a while, we were just starting to get into that mode where, okay, what can our daily activities be? How would we do them so we would be safe and, you know, not expose ourselves to the virus? But now it's like it totally turned that on its head.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
my daughter and I got into a rhythm where we're going to be going hiking in the mornings,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, Dad had to shut that down because he did not want us, you know, in certain parts of the city, you know,
It's not
alone.
shut down, baby. It
No,
just,
no, no. But I
you
mean,
know,
no, it's okay. Just kind of not be, just making sure
tell them and tell them.
that we're safe.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
So definitely, prior to this particular situation, we were just starting to get into a rhythm about coping with quarantine, and
Yeah.
now this happened and really shifted things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Virginia, were you about to say something?
No. I just said, yeah, I mean, I totally agree.
Yeah. So you mentioned music. So like, if we were to drive past your place, like, what music are you guys listening to now?
Oh shoot!
Mm.
I was like Fateen's been DJing, so we've been hearing everything.
Oh.
He DJs for the family, so you know.
It's no DJ active, DJ Jazzy Jeff, be nice kind of DJing, the brother. It's just some fun playing music with a controller, you know, at this point. But, you know, I mean, we listening to all of the stuff that the kids like, and of course listening to our faithful favorites, you know, a lot of the old school stuff, the stuff that really, you know, shifts our mood. But, you know, we just listening to the stuff that we like and that we enjoy. There's no specific names. I would never want to, you know, throw out a bunch of names. It's because it definitely is not a lot of brand new stuff that, you know, we need to be catching people up with, to be honest, you know, at this moment. Actually, I can't think of a lot of brand new stuff that's.
Well, I will say this. We were really into the verses. We watched all of the verses.
Yes.
And then I will have to say the one thing that gave us like life was Stevie Wonder's birthday.
Yes.
2 hours of Stevie Wonder. Oh, when I tell you that we party.
DJ Spinner, Giles Peterson.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, those
what's the girl DJ's name? Oh man, I can't think of her name, but she was so incredible.
Natasha Diggs and what was Tia, something Tia, DJ Tia or something like that. Yeah, that was a really good party. Yeah.
That was amazing. We partied into the night. I watched until the very end. The team conked out a little bit at the end, but he was with me the whole night.
Nigga get tired.
But when Stevie called at the end, it was awesome.
Yeah. You know, the funny thing is we don't think of DJ as like a party artist, you know what I mean? Which is crazy because he's giving us so many up tempos.
Well, but that's, you know, that's the difference. You know why that is? Because our generation, we so used to program drums and the
Mm.
tempos being a lot faster. But if you think back to your mom's days, you know, in the 70s and the blue lights in the basement, music was, the fast music was, I used to go out and party. You know what I'm saying? So like those tempos fall in line with all of the stuff of Stevie's and like Earth, Wind and Fire and all of that. So it is upbeat music and it is dance music. It's just a different style
Yeah,
of dance music. So it's party.
I definitely wouldn't have said that before that night though. I will have to say it did kind of like put me on. I
Yeah.
danced so much. I danced so much.
Grooving, dancing, and having a good time.
So, I mean, the funny thing about having a good time, I mean, you guys, we just celebrated your 20th wedding anniversary. A couple, what was it? Maybe
21st
Well,
wedding in
21st.
September.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
21st.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was at the 20th party, which was amazing.
Yeah.
You know, how have you guys been able to keep the spark alive over these years, especially as recording artists?
Well, we do like what we do. So
And we like each other.
yeah, we like each other. We like what we do. That being able to do what you really love actually does kind of feed your energy in a really positive way. I believe that. So we get the benefit of that first and foremost. And then the second part about it is that really we just love doing what we do and being around each other doing that, and it's just always been easy when you don't have to explain that to your mate and you don't have to come up with a new language for them, and you can relate to them and they can relate to you. It takes a lot of pressure off the rest of the relationship, because relationships can be a lot of work and we fuss and argue like everybody else. But having that release, I think, has really been a real blessing for us, because it's something that, like I said, it's something that we're passionate about, that we can share and that we can, you know, relate to with each other. It's always that healing place to go back to, that moment where you can really just kind of relate. But I will say this much. Being in the house for several months and not being able to have the release of our creative life, it has
Y'all in these R. Kelly references.
it has
Only lover friend. Come on now.
it has shown me how strong our relationship really is, because not being able to have that release, that creative release, where you could just, you know, get on a plane and you go and do your thing, you get to sing and you get all that energy off you. I was like, wow, okay, all right, like we be popping a little bit.
Yeah. Are you guys actually missing the stage?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is that when everything got set into motion initially, you know, back in March or what have you, you know, we didn't have a whole lot of performances lined up in those next 2 months. We did have a few. And, you know, relatively March 21st and 29th were the first actual concerts that we missed that ended up having to be pushed back. And now our June 13th, I guess, Atlanta, and then various other things that would happen throughout the summer, you know, when we would pick back up. But we were really just trying to get in there to finish our record, which we haven't finished now that we've been on quarantine, because then that required us to kind of like go inward and do it completely different than the way that we would normally do our music, which is with a producer and with an engineer and all those different things. So in terms of doing that, we would have really kind of been focused on that. So that just kind of gave us the time to sit back and, you know, reflect on some other things, work on other things, and you know, start to write and think about how we're going to approach things that clearly things are going to be completely different when and if we do even come out of this quarantine scenario. So like we just, you know, we've been very fortunate, been very blessed, you know what I mean? And we were very fortunate that we did have things on the books, but you know, now that those things have been pushed back, we're just trying to get into the groove of the new normals.
What do you so when just to kind of fast forward to 2021, when supposedly you know, the thing, you know, everybody, well, artists will be able to, you know, perform on stage again. What would you want to see different in terms of the music industry and the performing industry that like, what are some of the changes that you think need to happen in order for you guys to be, you know, successful artists in 2021?
Well, hopefully.
Well,
go ahead.
I mean, I would say I have more of a like not a fantasy, but I would like to. I more so like what I wish could happen. What
Yeah.
I wish could happen is that more artists were invested into venues and
Yeah.
places to perform, so that they could kind of create a stronghold on their ability to move around and
Mm.
not being able to be at the whim of
The mercy.
the mercy of like venues and places, big conglomerates who take over a lot of venue spaces and have the ability to block artists out if that's something that they were interested in, or
Yeah.
relegate artists to certain kinds of venues. I feel like artists invest in so many things. Like now you got artists who basically are their own producers, their own label heads and everything. So now I'm thinking it's time for us to move into, under taking control of our touring and taking
Mm.
control of our venue spaces. I think it's possible. I would
Uh,
love to see that.
I mean, the echo on the heels of that, I just hope that fairness
mm.
all the way around for artists and the music industry in general starts to get distributed properly to those who are so invested in this great work. There's a lot of people who, just like you said, they become one-stop shops. They become everything for themselves, and they still don't really reap the benefits completely from the work that they put in. And that's really important. You know what I mean? It's really important for you to be able to reap what you sow and for you to be able to get the rewards and the benefits from the work that you put in. And
Yeah.
too often the wrong people get the benefits of the work that we put in as music makers,
Yeah.
and it's slow to trickle back to us. And in this day and age where a lot of people do get an opportunity to own their masters and put
Hmm.
out their own music and all of those different things, and now that exists, it still becomes harder for them to really get not just acknowledged and celebrated, but also to be showcased, to be on platforms that it really makes a difference. It's great that we all have our own social media bubbles and worlds and things of that nature, but
Hmm.
you need that to be spread out amongst all of the other distribution channels and the places that it can really make an impact and a difference. It just feels like a lot of great music is missing the mark of becoming hit music these
Hmm.
days because the outlets and the blocking, and the different things and people not really helping to share it. That it's still really important, and people need to understand that. And this is a livelihood that people have in the music industry, and it's been taken away from them for the most part right now, which everybody is trying to figure out online, and figure
Yeah.
out things that they have no real experience with completely, and they don't really know how it all works, but they're all trying to figure it out right now. And that's a blessing. That's the beauty of our people as Black people, for one. You know what I mean? But the resiliency of us, and that we always take lemons and make lemonade. You know what I mean? And you take the scraps that you're given to try to make Thanksgiving. So
Hmm.
that's what we have to do, and we got to continue to do that. And my baby is touching me to let me know I'm going a little long. So.
But listen, we like conversation here, so
I
Um,
said it's the neighborhood chat.
yes, right. And speaking of the neighborhood chat, if folks in the audience have questions, feel free to to drop them in the comments or to send us a private message. We would love to read them. And I also want to shout out from Kimberly Roberts from the Philadelphia
Oh yeah,
Tribune.
from the Philly Tribune. Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
who
written a few
passed.
stories on this in the past years. She's a very nice lady, and God bless her soul and all of the work that she has done for so many great people in the city, and a part of the legacy of the Philly Tribune.
Yeah, that was a gut punch to me. She definitely accepted some PR pitches of mine back in the day. So rest in peace, Kimberly. So
Mm-hmm.
as we talk about venue management of artists delving into venue management, we have to at this point talk about your own platform that you built, which is Kindred Presents, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm the biggest fan of.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. One
I
of
think
our
I've been to at
investigative
least
reporters.
yeah, I
Yes.
think I've been to at least 95% of them.
Mm-hmm.
I've always regretted the 5% that I missed. So
No,
can you
yes,
tell
sir.
the
We
folks?
appreciate that support.
I'm sorry.
No, I said we appreciate that support. You definitely have been one of our most vocal and instrumental pieces to that in terms of support and being a part of it. So we're really grateful, man.
I accept that. Thank you so much. But if you don't mind telling the folks, how that idea came to be, and what it's been like, having your own platform and bringing artists who haven't been to Philadelphia in years to town.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it goes back a little further than you might think. Bettina and I have experimented with and done quite a bit in trying to develop like a radio show, and this from years ago.
Yeah.
We always wanted to be a part of the culture of bringing, awareness to our musical community, people who we thought were amazing, all of those things. So we've been working through those kinds of ideas for years before we actually did Kindred Presents.
Mm-hmm.
When we decided to do it, it kind of came out of the need for artists, the full scope of Black music, to have an opportunity to be heard and talked to, spoken to, not just there for for a quick interview or a performance, but an opportunity for people to really deep dive into the stories of these artists. And it also came out of the need, the absence of stuff like Arsenio Hall and these kind of late night shows where
the Monique show.
Yeah, the Monique show. All of this stuff was no longer there for us as a community. Yeah, it was no longer there for us as a community. And many of these artists weren't going to get on Letterman or Fallon or any of that stuff.
They might have got on it, but they wasn't going to sit on the couch and talk.
Right.
Oh, definitely. So if you did make it on there, they definitely weren't going to talk to you and definitely did not want to tell your story. Yeah. So for us, Kindred Presents was an opportunity to bring together a lot of different facets of Black music, give people an opportunity to perform, but also to tell their story. The story really was the most important part. But we knew that people would not want to come and not to see their favorite artist and not get a little bit of music. So we incorporated that into it as well, and we were really happy with the result.
I mean, again, just to piggyback a little bit on the heels of that, it's like, a lot of our music, or all of our music for the most part, is the urban AC, urban adult contemporary audience, more so than some of our other peers or other, comrades who have gone onto the urban charts. So the urban AC charts has always been kind of like, oh, that's that other thing, that's the old people's music. You know what I mean? So it's never kind of been looked at as, I guess, hip. You know what I mean? We over there with Luther Vandross and Anita Baker and them, and you over there with Meek and them, and so it's just like you feel like y'all the today music and they the yesterday's music, and they just making music today that sounds like yesterday. Right. So it's like within itself was kind of like a slight to me for our style of music. So again, in trying to make a platform that kind of more spoke to making the spotlight on our generation or our style of music, to give it that same luster that urban music seems to have, because it's the music for the kids. And that was missing, like she said, with those different shows that used to be the platforms that you would go to in order to promote those things. It's like, even if Luther Vandross was alive today, or Stevie puts out a new album, or Frankie Beverly puts out a new album, where do they go in order to be celebrated right now? It's just like they're not going to be on the BET Awards and all of those different things, you know what I mean, unless they get a Legend Award. And so it's like, they have new music, but when they want to put something out, or they want to discuss their story, or they want to be showcased or broadcast in front of the generation right now, to remember them and to hear their stories and things that they may not know about, that was kind of, or felt like it was non-existent. I wouldn't say non-existent, because it's not like we're the only people who are striving to do that, but from our vantage point, from the love of artist to artist, I didn't really see that existing. So that's more or less where it kind of came from.
Yeah, it definitely hasn't existed, and I think what was so intriguing about the conversations, you two, you know, being artists, you kind of know what to ask other artists. And you know, it's always questions that I'm like, oh damn, I would have never have thought to ask that, and that's why I think so many audiophiles in the city have flocked and have become regulars of your event.
No, we appreciate it.
Oh yeah, we love that music lovers, that Kindred Presents has become the place for music lovers.
Mm-hmm.
People who don't just love the music, but they just love the whole of the culture. They are
Yeah.
they want to hear the stories. And that's really the audience member that we're looking for.
Yeah.
That's the person that we're asking to come to the show, is
Yeah.
that person. No, we always do get people who are just coming because it's somebody they love, which is great too, and all that's fine. But just people who are just interested in the whole of the story. And one of the things that I think is really cool is, and I think Brand was saying in the comments, he's like that we learned so much at Kindred Presents. Well, I need y'all to know
So did
we learned so
did we.
much too.
It was like doing a book report on your favorite artists
Yes.
every week. You know what I mean? And it's just like you think you know somebody until you read their story.
Right.
You know what I mean? You learn their music. You know their music. You feel like you know their music backwards and forwards, and you've heard this little thing or that little thing, but you look at their story, and not only the people that we would have on the show, but because we would have, you know, various guests, a lot of times seeing the synergies between those people and the connections between those people was always amazing. It was never planned. It was never like, oh, let's get such and such because they did a song together or they connected together or they from the same hometown. It never really happened like that. But somehow, some way, a lot of times those artists, whatever it would be some connection, something that linked them together in the story or in the chain that was just always amazing to us to find out.
Yeah. I also want to go back to the comment that you made about us being artists and kind of relating to that to the artist. That has been such a cool thing for us as artists to be able to talk to each other and celebrate each other.
Yeah.
So many times there's just not an opportunity for the artist to celebrate another artist. And then oftentimes, and something about it for the people who come on the show, and they've said this, something about that moment feels very special for them too. When they get there and they understand how important they are. Sometimes artists make music and they love their work, but I don't think sometimes they know how loved and appreciated they are. Yeah. And then they come to the show and it's like, oh, like I didn't know I was coming for this. And they feel very loved, very wrapped in the arms of their fan base and us as fellow artists. And so we've really been grateful for people to walk away and get that.
I would have to say also that I think that was also a part of the reluctancy for some of the artists to actually come on the program because it's not something that they were used to. As they are used to having a journalist talk to them, someone who they don't feel as connected to or that they feel like mirrors their experience, and somehow that gets them this separation from the interview rather than a connection to the interview. And I think that we all are guilty of it. I mean, I can't deny it, even my own self, that, you know, it's like, you know, and especially in this day and age of the internet, and so many people being able to be journalists who may not even be journalists, who can just start a show and do different things. And it's just like, a lot of times I have been reluctant to do internet radio and different things like that through the years because it was just like, oh, that's not really the platform where you reach the people that you really need to reach, or all of those different things, or that's not going to help us to do X, Y, and Z. And people, you think like that, and then you lose sight of a lot of great things that you might could be a part of that might move the needle a lot more than you actually think.
Oh yeah,
because it's not your normal, it's not the usual, and you have to break that cycle. And now all artists are being forced to break that cycle because they are not on the road. They are understanding that everybody is here. You know what I mean? A lot of artists didn't even used to engage with their social media in the way in which everyone can see the difference at this very moment. So it is what it is. You live, you learn, you got to grow, and you try to, when you know better, you do better.
Yeah. What? So I actually get one. I have two questions. One's going to build off of that in just a second. But you know, what was the biggest surprise that you've gotten from Kindred Presents? Like, what was that bomb that dropped that one of your interviewees said that that just blew your mind?
Oh, I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay,
because if it came right to mind, that means it's good.
Okay, so we did an interview. We did an interview with Freddie Jackson.
Yes.
And we were super excited for him to come because, number one, every time we had come in contact with him professionally, he was amazing. Always hospitable, always very kind, just really a good person. So we knew that he would be a good guest. Plus, he was fun. He's funny, and he's just, very, very cool. So we really wanted him to have a good time, and he was excited about coming. And he came to the show, and we, I had a bunch of questions for him, and I asked him a question. About how he felt the Black community embraced, Black male singers. And, in terms of, did he ever feel like, I don't remember the exact question, but it was around sexuality and how Black music, where they, how they loved people like Luther and himself, but didn't necessarily, they weren't able to express themselves about their sexuality as openly as they may have liked to. Mm-hmm. And now these days it's definitely different, but yet there's still something about R&B music where that's taboo. You know what I'm saying? And so I asked him a question about that, and I think at first he was like a little surprised, but then he answered it. And I knew that it was, I knew that it may have been a touchy question, but I was very respectful when I said it, and I felt comfortable talking about it. Well, after the interview, and he was so wonderful about it and answered the question and was so cool about it. Well, after the interview, a friend of mine called and was really, really shocked and said, oh my gosh, like he has never spoken about that in public ever.
Right.
Like he didn't talk about it.
Right.
And I was so shocked because I was like, I did not want to do anything to make him uncomfortable. And the person who called me was like, no, I don't think he was uncomfortable because maybe he was a little surprised at it, but then he just kind of leaned in and talked about it.
It wasn't coming from that Wendy Williams space.
Yeah,
it wasn't coming from that we trying to get in your business and, make you look a certain way or anything like that. It's that loving space that, putting your arms around somebody you love. I really want to know this artist to artist, kind of thing. It's a conversation that we are inviting an audience into, but it's personal and it's not, it's not damning. You know what I mean? And maybe that was the comfort level that he felt in that moment that got you over him not being offended or feeling, like,
Right. She said that's exactly. He said, fuck it, I love them. Mm-hmm. And it was like he just knew he was with family. Mm-hmm. And the person who called me was kind of reiterated that and said, I think he just felt comfortable with y'all. And I was so grateful because that was my intention from the gate. I was like, this is someone who I respect and who I care for. And so to me, that was really a surprise for me. In retrospect, it was a surprise, but I was so grateful. I was just so grateful. And I think it spoke to me volumes about intent. Your intention should always be in the right place.
Thank you, brother.
Because you can make a mistake.
Spell my name with an N.
Yeah, you can make a mistake. But if your intention is right, people will see that. They won't see, the mistake.
Yeah.
Well, Agent's been in the hot seat on a few interviews, though, with different people, whether her intention or whatever. So we almost got into a fight with Dr. Umar one time.
He didn't want to fight.
Not a fight.
No, it wasn't him. It was his audience. It was the people that came.
I saw somebody say, ask us the hard questions. And if there's questions that you feel that you need to ask that people think are hard or whatever the case may be, our best answer is just like, but again, we never set out, it's not a gotcha show.
Right.
You know what I mean? We never set out to get somebody with a gotcha question. But there are things that we might want to know that we feel are on the pulse of what others want to know also. you know what I mean, that we try to include. We always try, of course, to be respectful because, again, we want to treat people the way that we would like to be treated. We don't want anybody to be trying to trip us up or to make us look bad or to do something that's like a gotcha for them either. But it's just like there are things that might not always be easy to talk about or might not even have an easy answer. But, you know, it should be asked if it's going to be asked in a respectful way and a person doesn't have a problem with answering. Because we can all say, hey, next question.
Right. You know, and before I go into some of the audience questions, I think one of my favorite interviews was Nikki Gilbert for that very reason. Because she said a lot of, and you know, Nikki has been very maligned because of that reality TV show.
Yeah,
but it was interesting hearing her point of view for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were really grateful because we actually had so many of the women who were on that show on Kindred Presents.
Yeah.
So we had Monifa and with Selena Johnson and Leela James and of course Nikki Gilbert. And you know, one of the things was again
we miss Kiki.
We miss Kiki. But we definitely like again there definitely was a trust level there, where they knew that we were not there to sensationalize whatever had been happening in the press, and that the purpose of the show was to hear their personal story, and that's the that's the goal. The goal is to hear your full story, not to give the bloggers or give anybody else any extra fodder. That's never been never the
yeah, Karen White was awesome too.
Yeah, she told everybody tells some great stories. But everybody, I would say this, everybody had like an epic Prince story. Do you remember that? Like almost everyone had like this crazy connection to Prince. It was like, it was the wildest thing.
Prince got around. He sure did.
He did.
He was like, wow.
Now, did you guys have a Prince story?
No.
No.
Well, yeah, I do have a Prince story. Prince isn't in the story, but there was a time when it's so wild because today is the 27th anniversary of the first placement that I had with Belle Biv DeVoe. And I had gone to the Jack the Rapper in 1993, I believe, which was a huge music convention at the time, taking those same songs that we ended up with on Belle Biv DeVoe, and saw ABC and TLC and Crisscross and all these new groups and Jermaine Dupri and all of that new stuff that was coming out in the 90s. In Atlanta, and Prince was performing at this music conference. We didn't have badges or anything like that because we were sneaking around and getting into everything.
When he says we, he means
not Asia. This is me and my writing partner at the time. This was a few years before I had met Asia, 5 or 6 years before I met Asia. And Prince was performing with his NPG band at the time. Rosie Gaines was singing with him, and the New Power Generation was playing. And there was this big ballroom during the time that he was rehearsing in before the showcase would happen later. And at the time, he had those microphones, the gold microphone with the gun. It was I don't know if anybody remember, he used to have this gun gold microphone. And we came in the room, and they weren't in the room at the time, but the microphone was on the stand. And, you know, I'm 17, 18 years old at the time, and you know, I was thinking about looting that microphone because I just felt like, you know, if I could just have that microphone, it was just like, it was amazing. It was like shining and glistening, and it was regular than a different, you know, it was better than any other microphone. And I just wanted to just take that microphone. I can't even lie to you. And I didn't, of course, take the microphone. All I could think of was, what would you be able to do with it? The first person you would show it to, they would tell everybody you'd be in big trouble anyway. So I did get an opportunity to see Prince sitting right next to Phyllis Hyman and Kool Moe Dee, you know, and all these other celebrities in this little tiny room watching Prince, you know, do a live concert, you know, where it was almost like you could reach out and touch him. It was amazing thing. I never got an opportunity to meet him again after that in my career, but I always felt really, really special and grateful to have been that close to Prince as a wonderful, wonderful performer and artist that had given so much to so many people.
Yeah, I want to shout out to the legendary Cayman Kelly who just entered the chat. Shout out to Cayman Kelly.
Cayman Kelly, what's up, fam?
From X&M.
Yeah, we're going to have to be on your live, too, in a minute, Cayman. What's up, brother?
So, I have a really good question from Marla. Hey, Marla. And you guys
Marla, oh
were
yeah, I see Marla a lot on my Instagram too.
absolutely. She asked what it
Mhm.
was like working with the legendary Chuck Brown.
Oh yeah, that's pretty dope. So Chuck Brown, we had done a song with Chuck Brown on
Love has no
our
recession album.
Love Has No Recession
Going to the
album.
go-go.
Mm.
Going to the love. And we had done a song with him. So it was really, really exciting because we had done another go-go song, like sort of go-go sounding song before, and had a legendary DC artist that was on there. But what happened was that everything, Chuck Brown
What
is the
song is that?
golden.
What other song did we do that was go-go?
We did the song about going outside. It was like a summertime song. I forgot the name of it. You know the song when you talk about the black cherry and
Well, that's not a go-go song.
it
Turn it
had
up.
remember we had the Congo player from Lil Benny and the Masters.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
You know me. Oh, the only go-go song I remember
sorry,
is Chuck.
we had a
People
bunch.
gonna go back and listen, and they gonna be like, "Girl, that ain't go-go."
No, it had we had never mind.
Get to the Chuck story, then.
Okay, whatever. So Chuck's story was we hooked up with Chuck Brown. It was like an amazing thing for us. I'm from DC originally, so
Yeah.
for me, that's the ultimate. He is the biggest artist in the world to us in Washington DC. In DC, Chuck Brown can perform every single night, and he's going to pack it out. He's going to sell it out, and that was up until the last months of his life. People still were packing it in to see him perform. So at the end of the day, DC loved him. And so to be able to do a song with him was just awesome. But the best thing about doing the song with Chuck Brown was when we got to do the video.
Mm-hmm.
My own girl Elise, who is also the producer for Kindred Presents,
The
Yes.
director.
I mean, the producer for Kindred Presents, she was also the director for that video.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nice.
And we did the video at University of District of Columbia, University.
Columba. Girl, that girl is messing up her hometown tonight. You've been in Philly too long,
Yeah,
girl.
you've been in Philly too long. I'm going to ask you about that too.
Yeah, we did it at UDC. The mayor at the time was in the video, even though politicians that was shaky.
Yeah.
But also too, we had a bunch of UDC students that were a part of it. DJ Cool was a part of it. It
Oh.
was the DCest thing that I had probably ever done in my life. And I was so stoked about the whole thing. And it turned out that that was actually one of the last songs that he did and or that he released was that song. And so we were really proud. And we got an opportunity to sing live with him before in
Yeah, that's
Washington,
what I was gonna say.
D.C.
That to me, that was the most exciting stuff the times that we worked with Chuck in conjunction doing shows, and then he guested on a couple of maybe I think one or two of our shows that we did at the Birchmere, came out and rocked the crowd out, and then unfortunately of course he passed, but we
Yeah.
were asked to sing at his funeral, and
Oh,
we
wow.
were singing one of his very favorite songs, which was called "The Nature Boy." That some people may know from Nat King Cole,
Yes.
which was an incredible song and an incredible moment for us as well
Yeah.
to be a part of, his legacy in the end, and to know that
as
he
a
really
little
enjoyed
girl,
us as a group was really, really special as well. His family is really, really gracious and grateful. Were really gracious and grateful to us as well, and always showed us a lot of love. And so we always feel like kind of a part of that Chuck Brown family, and just grateful
also
for that
too,
opportunity.
when he got an opportunity to listen to the album that his song was on, I do remember that, when he came and did a guest appearance with us at our show at the Birchmere that year when that album came out. And when he came, he was just so professional and so humble. And he told us that he had listened to the whole album. And that really impressed us because we were just so honored that he took the time to really listen to our music, to really listen to the lyrics and to where we're going with it, creatively. And so he just had respect for us. And that made us feel
He
good.
thought we was a good band, and
Which
that
you
was
are.
saying a lot to us from somebody like him. I mean, to know that you know, he's played with the best, like, and he was one of the best, you
Yeah.
know, and such a legendary artist who really still is a very unsung artist when you really think about it in the entire music industry,
Big
because
time.
go-go, as big as it is in DC and in the DMV area, and even though it's still an international and universally known music, it still doesn't get the love that it really deserves and respects, because it's the backdrop of a lot of other styles of music, which
Yes.
which speaks to her saying that we had done another go-go song, and it's a part of our little R&B soul song, which it plays the background instead of the foreground of that particular record, because Little Benny is just playing the congas and stuff on it. But DC go-go in general is just a music that just is so killer, so great, just needs to be, to me, on a much wider, you know,
Yes.
platform, and get a lot more respect that it deserves from all of the bands, the Rare Essences.
Well, I mean, if you really want the truth of the matter, go-go music is already on the forefront because it is the cornerstone of quite a few different kinds of
That's
music.
kind of what I just
So
said.
yeah. I just wanted, you know.
I know early hip hop,
Little-
early hip hop is sampled all of the music, but again, it took it to the background, and that music wasn't called go-go. The Salt and Pepper records and the Heavy D and the Boys records and all of these different records that sampled a lot of that music, it still went under the guise of rap music and hip hop music, and so, you know, people, it can get lost in that, you know what I mean? And as much as, and as big as Chuck Brown is, and big as the band is, and Rare Essence, and EU with the butt, and all those different shining moments that go-go has had, is still not looked at as a music overall that people think of when they think of the genres of black music.
Right.
And that's a problem.
That is
and that's the issue. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean, because we have about less than 15 minutes left, and I have two really good questions left. And the first being, you know, you guys can live anywhere, and you know, we've seen a lot of live, yes. So like, you guys can live in any city in the world, and a lot of Philadelphia artists, they record here, but then they end up leaving, and a lot of them not on good terms with the city, but you guys have been loyal and decided to stay and you know, raise your family here. I just have a simple question: why?
Well, first and foremost, no, we can't live in any other city in the world. While I respect that question and I understand what you mean, but you know, there is a threshold of, you know, what you can do and what you can't do according to your personal situation. And some of the people who have left the city, who have represent for the city, they're in a different situation, or they may have been in a different situation, whether it's their work situation or whether it's their financial situation that has allowed them to decide, hey, you know what? I just don't want to be in Philly no more. I want to move to Hollywood, or I want to move here, or I want to live in New York in the high rise, or whatever the case may be. We got 6 kids. And then we you know, we got to take care of that, and we are vested in that, and we're grounded in that. And so our situation is we need to be close to our family, and that our family has been the fifth Beatle with making our music. So, and our kids need stability. All of those different things will factor into the decision of why we need to stay in Philly. And it's not like we can't lie and say there haven't been times that we like, you know, I need to get out of here. Or, you know, we could do something else. So whatever the case may be, but we don't stay because we don't have any choice. We do stay because we love this city, and that we do respect what we've been able to accomplish here, and we know that people love us, and we love them. You know what I mean? But also, it's like, it's something that Chris Rock once said about comedians. It's like, once you leave where you from, then you're not funny no more. You know what I mean? And it's just like, a lot of the music that we make is also connected to the city. You know what I mean? And it's sort of just like our sound, you know, how we built ourselves, our band, everything is Philadelphia. So it's just like, maybe we don't really want to move someplace else and then become something different than what we are, you know, like, so, though we might try to incorporate other sounds and other people from different places occasionally to spruce up the sound or to give it a different spice here, there, or the other, we still revel in the fact that, for the most part, this is a Philadelphia project. This is a Philadelphia band. This is a Philadelphia group, and it's all Philly. You know, and we
And
love
I
Philly.
don't know.
So
I mean, I've always liked the city. The city's like a real easy place to be.
Yeah.
Philly has always been this place where we could be artists, but we can just be regular too. You know
hmm
what I mean? And people just don't sweat you like that. They just they're so chill. It's affordable to live here. It's there's a lot of stuff here, and I always like it because it's like got the big city vibe, but it kind of has that southern that not mentality, but that southern
Mhm.
sensibility.
Yes.
Where if you live in Philly, your neighborhood is your neighborhood. Like you got block
Mhm.
captains, you got so and so live across the street from their aunt, their cousin. It's a lot of history here, and the black community here, I think, is really strong. Like, and being a person that's not from here, I feel like I see that a little bit more than people who
Mhm.
grew up here. Where it's like I'm not as jaded about the city, and about the people. I just feel like, wow, this is really cool, especially the music community here has a lineage.
Yeah.
You got the ancestors, you
the
got the
past is
elders,
connected to the
you
present, and
got
the
the
present is connected to the
you got
Yes.
it. There's a bloodline. You know what
future.
I'm saying? So I always like that about this city, personally. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's not a thing you want to just leave.
We're moving to Africa
Uh-oh.
next week, though.
Did we
Right.
break out? Okay, no.
Did you hear what I said?
Uh, I heard the
I
last
said we're
bit
moving
of
to Africa next week, though.
it.
We
Listen,
will.
if you guys leave, listen, if you guys leave here, I'm going to be the first one. I'll be the first one to start a protest. And we've already started damaging a lot of shit here around this town. So, so my last question, again, we're in really, really, really crazy times, and we're seeing a lot of backlash against, Black celebrities for not speaking out or speaking out inappropriately. What do you guys feel is the responsibility for Black entertainers during this time?
Oh man,
to,
look.
to reflect the pulse of
Here's
the people in the times. I think most.
Mm.
I know Asia has a. Go ahead, baby.
why he do me like that.
I'm not trying to do it like that. I'm doing that. Go ahead.
My thing is like this. Like, okay, if you're looking to buy high end clothing, right?
Mhm.
You're not gonna go to the Ross. You feel
Right.
me?
Yeah.
Or to the Rainbow. People got to stop expecting to get something really meaningful from a place where they wouldn't normally get it. It's
Hmm.
like if you like an entertainer, you like their music, and you into it, and that's what you turn up to on your way out. It's like that's what you go to that person for that. You don't need to go to that person to hear about what's happening in your world because that's not something they was ever trying to give you before. And I think
Mm.
the expectation that people have from folks that they didn't never showed you they was intelligent before today. So why are we expecting to get that from them now? My thing is think about that before times like now. Support artists that are always down, that
Hmm.
are always speaking out, that are always there for you, that are always concerned about you. Just take this moment to just maybe put a little more energy and a couple more dollars in their pocket. And in that
Yes.
way, you ain't got to go looking for them.
Yes.
Artists that I respect, I didn't have to go looking for them. I ain't go check their timeline. I knew they were talking because they always talking. They're always there. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I don't care about the ones that never speak up because I don't
They're
look to
not gonna
them
do
for
it
that.
anyway. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they wasn't gonna do it anyway. Right. Listen, I'm waiting for the collection plate to pass by so I can drop a little something in there.
I thought it was.
Because that was the word.
I think that was
That was the word.
Put some chicken bones in there.
Now, so I mean, so not only this is a community chat. We're the neighborhood. How can we support you guys during this time?
Hmm.
Support. I
I don't know.
Our YouTube channel
Right.
just got 10,000 subscribers.
What?
We have,
Yes.
I put up a post about it. I put it, I didn't see it. But like, yeah, I mean, like that's listen. I know a lot of artists are going live. I know a lot of artists are putting their cash up and all these different things, and all of that's respectful. And we're not trying to pretend we're not in no grand position or situation. But I know that a lot of people are hurting. So it just kind of like it's not a whole thing about, hey, give us this money or send us this money or help us there. Of course, you can always buy some merchandise or buy our music or stream our music, but you know, we've done a lot of content through the years, and we all are doing a lot of content for Instagram Live and Facebook and all of these places where we don't make any money from doing that. And a lot of the stuff that we do, we invest heavily in putting it together, and we don't ask people for money, and we sell tickets and we pay artists and we do different things like that, and usually we don't see a return on that, and that's not a sympathy thing. It's just like, but it is still an investment for us and, you know, for what we are trying to do. But it's like if people can follow and support those things, watch those things, share those things, you know what I mean? You know, help us with the subscribers so that eventually it will be able to turn into some sort of lucrative thing where you can reap some pennies back from putting up some of that content. That would be amazing. I mean, I know we got hundreds of thousands of people on Instagram and Facebook and all of those different places, but whereas a place like YouTube where you can actually monetize what you do, we don't have that many people. You know what I mean? And we've had a YouTube page since we ever had a Gmail. So whenever Gmail came along, we all had a YouTube page. And some of y'all might not even realize that you have a YouTube page because you got a Gmail. If you got a Gmail, got a Google account, you got a YouTube page. And most artists didn't really used to pay attention to their YouTube page because everybody else was posting their stuff for them. And you looked at it as a promotional vehicle. You didn't look at it as, this is my channel. And if I grow my channel, then I grow my subscribers and I grow monetization and the content that I create, then I can actually monetize. But now that we all are starting to see that, and the DJs are going from Instagram to YouTube and Twitch and all of these other places and trying to figure out a way that they can do it successfully and not get cut off and might be able to monetize it and not get strikes and blocks. All of that stuff is important, and it's more important than ever. Now y'all have seen there's no more record labels. There's no more record stores and all of these different things, and the platforms have changed. iTunes start talking about they're not going to sell iTunes no more. All of the music is being streamed. That each time that's giving artists less and less money. You know what I mean? Less and less opportunities to, you know, really reap the benefits of their music in the way in which we used to, in the way that not only did we used to, but mostly the labels and all of the different people who was involved in the music, they was making that money. So now that we are taking the music to you and giving you different things like from person to person, you know what I mean, without a middleman a lot of times, like it's really important if you can. Just like tonight, the program that you're doing, all the people who you love, you know, they might not be watching, you know, but they might eventually see it. But it's like, you know, you need them to check for you, you know, and that's the same thing for the artists. You need people to check for you. You need them to support it. When you put stuff up that you can support, then support it. We know, just like everything, you know, we do a show and we take, we do a show and 500 people there. We take 50 or 60 CDs. We hope that we can sell that 5%, you know, of CDs or whatever of that audience to the people, you know what I mean? We hope that, but we don't bring 500 CDs. So we don't always expect that whatever the number is that of people that are there that is going to check it out, but we do want a percentage of those people to at least, you know, be engaged in what it is that we're doing. So, you know, hopefully, again, I say all of that to say, yeah, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and, you know, if you can, go to our link in the bio, and you want to buy a t-shirt or merchandise, all those different things, they help because they put money directly into the pockets of the people who are putting those products out. And don't just do it for us because you're supporting us by supporting the community. Support Evan. Support what he's doing. You know what I mean? Support Lauren and Limo and all of the Philly artists. You know what I mean? And all the artists who represent the genres of music that you love. All of the artists who draw and do visual arts, and all of the actors and all of the different people, and not just the ones who extremely famous who it seems like don't really need your support. Those people who be begging for your support and asking for your support sometimes, it might be real easy. Just share
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Just show people more love. And right now, we all at home.
Yeah.
Y'all all at home. So, you know, if you can do that,
Yeah. Well,
love.
we're about 5 seconds out.
Okay.
Thank you
Oh, then we can
guys.
get cut off from Instagram, right?